Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we're going to be carrying on our amazing series. And what we did on the last episode is that we started to display the player name, the health counters, and everything else in the UI here. And today if you add it, and we add the cards and things like that. So what I would like here to do today is that I would like to do the enemy UI. So this is going to be what the enemy UI is going to look like. I'm going to do a couple of changes in here. I did ask ChatGPT to build me a UI, so I created this one first. And I don't like it, the fact that I have to use the health bar. I think I prefer to see the numbers. So I'm just going to go with this one that I created. And also I'm going to add a new item here to display how much cards does you have. So the very first thing I would like to do here is that I want to do this effect if you're adding plus or minus on the health counters. Because remember, I would like to go back here and I would like to open up my widget and I would like to see this, right? The player attributes. And every time we add something here, I would like to play a little animation, right? Where are we adding health? Are we removing health? Or is the health before different from the health that was now? Something like this. So let's do the animation here first, how I would like this to, let's say, work, right? So the very first thing that we need, let's say, to do it here is that we need to kind of create this effect, +3 on where is the heart. So I'm just going to get here the health just to have something that we can work with. And then what I am going to do here, I'm going to add actually, I am gonna wrap those two here. No, that's fine. Maybe I'm gonna add here overlay. And then within the overlay, I'm gonna copy the text and paste inside that, right? Now, the overlay, you can do things like, I'm just trying to think the best. You know what? I'm gonna have to do this better. So I'm gonna wrap this whole thing on a canvas. All right, canvas panel, and then within the canvas, I'm gonna wrap with a vertical box. Okay, there we go. So now let's compile and save. Now this, I think we can make it so auto. Align everything in the middle. This stuff I would like to be aligned on the center. Also this one here I would like to be aligned on the center. Now can I increase the size of that, which I believe I can, which is good. No, sorry, I'm increasing the size of the wrong thing. I need to increase the size of this. So size to content, there we go. I would like to anchor this right on the middle, 0.5, 0.5. Let's see how does it look. So when I press play, shouldn't look too bad. It looks okay. It looks actually the same it was. All right. I'm just gonna change here to play as a standalone because I noticed that it's playing on the server. And there we go. So we have a decent UI now. So what I would like to do here is that I would like to do, now I want to copy this text and paste it where is the canvas, all right? And I am going to center this guy right on the center here. I'm going to do 0. Let's say 5 and 0.5. I want to make sure it's sized to the content, and now I'm going to place it more or less where I think it should go, right? Now we're gonna have, let's say, something like that, and it's gonna be a -3, something around those lines. So look at that, -3 or -4. Now this of course has to be dynamic, right? One more thing I notice is that in the UI I'm using this very this color here. I mean, I'm probably not gonna use this, but one thing I would like to do is just call it outline. Okay, I want to make sure the outline size is 2, or yeah, that looks good. and we have here the outline edit. Right, cool. So now this, instead of called attribute amount, is going to be attribute action, right? So the attribute action here. So now I'm going to try to be clever. I'm going to try to make it so everything is handled by the component. I do not tell what's going to, if you are adding, if you are removing, this thing knows exactly what it's trying to do. Okay. So what we are going to actually do here is that we're going to create here a custom event. We're going to call API display attribute action, right? So what happened? Are we adding or removing? So we're going to call is adding. Is adding. So we're going to create here a branch. And we're going to do something very simple. So the first off is the attribute action. We're going to set the visibility to visible, first of all. Before even this, we set this guy visibility, visible, right? Then the next thing that we're going to do here, actually don't need this, is that we are going to get our attribute action and we're going to set the color. Set color and opacity. And we're going to do a select on based on this. And we're going to basically, if it's true, we're going to make green, right? It's like a green color. I like to use this kind of very, not super, this kind of green is fine. Now, I'm going to also make a color for when you are removing that information. Look at that. Cool. Now we can plug this here. And the last thing, we need to set the text. So what is the value, right? Here, we're going to have to do a literal string here. And the next thing, we're going to do a append. And we're going to select. And here's going to be the amount. It's going to be the amount, right? And here, we have, are we adding or are we removing? And if it's true, we're adding. Otherwise, it's false. All right. Now, all you're going to do here is that when we call it here, we're going to have to do some logic. But imagine that we are adding 15 points. Right. So we're going to compile and save that. Let's see how it's going to look like. Look at that. 15 points. Are we removing 15 points? Yes, we're removing 15 points. That's cool. Now, what I would like to do here, I would like to create a little animation. So what we can actually do here is that we can create animation called attribute change or something. I don't know. Attribute change. Now, we could create animation for adding and removing. I'm just going to try to make sure I do with the same. I'm going to go back here. And the attribute action, what I would like to do here is maybe we can call here add attribute. So add attribute. Because if you are adding, we want to do a nice animation, right? Let's play with the transform. So what we're going to do here is that we are gonna make sure that we start with a very small scale, which is gonna be maybe, I don't know, 0.5 to 0.5, right? And this is gonna take something around, let's say, 75 seconds, and then it's gonna go back to 1.1 or 1.5. Is that too big? Maybe it's too big, I don't know. Let's just press play and see. And then what I'm going to do here is that I am going to get the rotation. So here the transform is fine. And then here, I'm going to make it so it moves to right here. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, sorry. I'm going to have to make it manually. So the translation is going to be something like 35 to here, right? So it does, let's see the animation. And then after that, it could disappear. I'm not sure, but let's see. So what happens is that we press play. No, sorry, press play now. I want to see what's the animation. So the animation keeps going. And then maybe what we can do here, I think we can play with the fade. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, what other attributes I can play here? So if I add, the attribute, what else can I play here? So can I add fade, event, flow, clipping, fade, no, fade. Well, actually, okay, that's fine. So, okay, this, instead of call add, I'm just going to call this remove attribute. All right. So this is going to be the one we're going to do for the remove. Now we're going to create another animation that's going to be for the one when we add attribute. All right. Now, adding attribute is going to be an easy one. You're just going to, click on that, click on the animation, add the action, and we're going to add here the transform. We're literally just going to play the scale. So the scale is going to be whatever it is. And then 50, it's just going to grow to like 1.5, like a bigger value, 1.5. That's it. So it just does this, bigger values. Okay, now we need to figure out this logic in the graph. Like we need to know what animation we're playing, is that adding, is that removing, what we are trying to do, and what's the amount of value, like this kind of things that we have to do. So guys, to do this, we need to make sure that every time we load and reload the attribute, okay, every time we load and reload the attribute, we are gonna get the old value that we have from this thing before. So this is gonna be get the attribute. We're gonna break, and we're gonna basically get a current, and this is gonna be old value attribute. All right, it's gonna be old value attribute. So we always have the old value. Okay, then what we do is that we set the new value. Everything happens. Now we have to do a couple of changes. So the first thing we need to find here is that we need to break here, and we basically gonna do is the current value greater than whatever is the old value, right? So if that's true, it means we are adding new things. So we're just gonna call this, and if that's true, it means that we are adding the new things. Now we need to get the difference of the value, right? So the difference will be, for example, the current value minus the old value, all right? Here. So right now, if I print this, well, let's see what happened, because I'm pretty sure that should be 15 for one and 0 for the rest. Okay, now, one thing I would like to do here as well is that if things are 0, I don't care. I don't want to show. I do not care about 0. So what we have to do here is then to create a branch. Is this different from so the calculations that we did here, yeah, is that greater than that? And what we gotta do, is this different from, man, what we can actually do here, to be honest, this can be an integer value, int, we don't care about that, right? It's gonna compile and save. All we gotta do is just we pass the integer value, and then here we just need to make sure that we create a branch and existing different not equal 0. So if it's not equal 0, then we carry on. Otherwise, we don't care. Like, we don't display the data, right? Like right now, that one, it's, why is that not working properly? Let's have a look. What did I do wrong here? Oh, it's because yes, I have that stupid thing. There you go. No, actually, no, that's not working. So let's do a print. It was working before. Why is that not working now? 0, 0, and 15. So, of course, guys. It's because the visibility of this has to be collapsed. So we shouldn't be able to see it. Now that it gives us a plus, right? And now it's because I just forgot to do a silly thing, which is to just add the value here, right? And that's it. So we only care about adding values. They're not 0, because 0 values, you know, as I said, it doesn't matter. So we added 15 points of health. Now we need to figure out what animation you like to play, right? So right now, what we can actually do here is that it's starting to get a little bit messy, but that's fine. We can just plug this here. Now, I'm going to create a branch. And we're going to compile and save, right? And we're going to play the animation. So, play. Otherwise, we play the remove. Play the animation. Now we can compile and save, and let's see. There you go. You see? 15 points of health. Yay! Now, of course, that needs to disappear. So, what I can actually do here. How can we make this disappear, right? That is the challenge. Maybe we can play with the opacity. So what happened is that during the animation, we can have another one called the fade, right? So fade will be add the icon attribute icon here, and then in here we're gonna add, I think it's called opacity, color and opacity. Now all we have to do here, start it on that, and then here we just do 0. Okay, so as you can see, go back to the animation, press play, and it disappear. Color and opacity. Maybe it's render opacity. Yeah. You know what, guys, is the render opacity, unfortunately. 0. No. Yeah, we do not care about that. I think we can delete. Yes. So now, see, it does work. Now, I think is that broken now? No, it's fine. I don't know why, but it was just being funny. Anyway, now the opacity disappears, right? So what happened here is that after we're gonna add a delay, you know, like 0.5 or something, 0.5, it's fine. A very simple thing, and then we just play the animation. And now, if I press play here, compile and save, look at that. You see, like it did already do what we wanted to do. Now I can do the same for this, right? What I can actually do here is that if you notice on that folder here, I added some icons. I have a card icon. Yes, this one, right? So what I can actually do here is that I can go back to, let's say, for example, I can go back to, what is it, the attributes, to the main TCG, and I could do something similar to this. So for example, the way we can actually do this is that we can copy this, and we're gonna go back here to the TCG, and we're just gonna delete that. Okay, we're just gonna paste this right here. We're gonna paste it right there, or maybe not. How do we? Oh yeah, okay, attribute here. So we're gonna add here, plug this value right here. Okay, so we have 3 cards, whatever. And in this one, we're gonna have to do a couple of different things, but don't worry. So we got a card counter. So the card counter doesn't count anymore because this needs to be, dynamically, let's say, changed on our end, right? So what we need to do here is that for this attribute display, instead of calling attribute display, I'm going to copy and paste, and I am going to call this dynamic display, right? Now the dynamic display, it will have a difference, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a sec. So first of all, we do not care about this, and we're going to load the dynamic display. Or in this case, yeah, dynamic display. I don't know why it's not loading up the right thing, but that's fine. So here we're going to search for that. Nice. So it's called dynamic display. I don't know why it displays the attribute display one, but it's probably, it didn't update yet. Now for the dynamic display, what we're going to have to do here is that we're going to have to change a couple of things. So the first thing I want to do here is that I don't care about reloading this on the pre-construct, and I am not passing an attribute anymore. I am just going to pass the value, all right? Float, and it's going to be called value, all right? And actually this is going to be, you know what, let's call this WBP card display. It's going to be related only to the card, right? So we're going to open up this. So you're going to have the current card, and then I'm going to pass max cards, right? Now what happens is that we do not have this attribute anymore, so we can delete this because I do not care about this anymore. So basically what we do is that we always have the old value, and then current card, and then we have the current card. So we're going to promote this to current card. Yeah, and we put it here. Also, by the way, this should be an integer, not a float. Yeah, I don't want this to be a float because we don't need that. We're just using with change variable types. So now what happens here is that we pass the current card and the max card. The max card is purely because we just want to format this in a nice way to the user, all right? So what we're going to do here is that we're going to call this API reload cards amount, all right? Now we're going to promote this to a variable as well called max card, that's fine. Now we don't care about the current, right? Because the current, it's going to be the old value, okay? Always. So whatever is the value before we add it. So then what happened is that we added the value right here to this, okay? Now we do not need to worry about this attribute anymore. We don't need to set that. We also we can set now the text here. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to create a literal string, and we're going to do the whole thing of like, you know, like append. So we're going to add a new thing. Here we're going to have a dash. Here's going to be the current amount you have and the max amount of cards you can have. Now from that, all you do is they'll set the type, and then we call this API display attribute, right? Which basically we do not have the current anymore, so we're just gonna put the current here. Sorry, the current is gonna go right there. Now we put also the amount here. So if this is greater than that, it means it's any action, otherwise is no non-action. It comes back. Then of course, if it's 0, we do not care. And then otherwise we set the visibility, we do the same thing, you know, like we just do the same thing. Of course, this icon here is going to be changed to the card one, which we do not have. I need to just bring it, the T card here. Now it's going to assign that, compile and save. Now if I go back here, I still need now to load the logic, right? So I'm gonna, it's a variable. I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna, instead of call dynamic display, I'm gonna proper change this to call card count player. How much cards does the player has? And now what happened is that we get this. And we're gonna call the API reload card amount. Now it's just a question of, okay, how many cards do I have and the max cards that I have. That's it. So if we did everything right, this should be everything that we need to do. So now every time we added a card, look at that. You see? The thing I don't like it is I think the fade is playing too fast. Let me just maybe add I don't know, a delay, quite delay there. I see. The problem is that the fade always plays after. Well, so what we can do here, guys, is maybe we delete that. We're gonna drop this fade thing. So we go back to the animations, we delete the fade. And in here, what we are trying to do, I think we can actually increase. So it's gonna finish, let's say 2 seconds, 2 minutes. I think, how do we change the value here? And start. Evaluate. Well, I'm not sure why it's not doing that, but anyway. Around here, on the remove attribute, we're gonna add a fade in. So we're gonna go here to the opacity, call it render opacity, okay? And then by the time it gets to this, it gets to 0, right? So it does that. So it started. There we go. Same here. We're gonna add the opacity, and then by the time it gets to here, oh, maybe that, I don't know, add the keyframe, and then by the time it gets here, he adds that to 0. All right, so there we go. Now let's see. So I think here we do also need to add to 1. There you go. Now let's see. Press play. Aha, look at that. Looks quite cool, no? Now I think if I remove it, look at that. Minus, I do need to remove that, but that's fine. See, it has a duplicated. We do need to do the same for this. So just before I finish this, I'm very aware there were half an hour in this session. But let's just do that one. just so we start the next tutorial quite easily. So what you're going to do, open up also your attribute display, delete the fade. Now you're going to have a problem because in the graph, we expect to play the fade. We don't care about that one right now. Now we're going to go back here to the designer, open up the animations, remove the attribute. You're going to add here another one called opacity, right? Make sure you press this keyframe and then you go back to around 0.50 keyframe again. And then after you put 0 because you want to make sure it removes. Same thing for this. Add opacity, render opacity, go around 0.5 here, also add the same opacity. Then after that, you put it back to 0, just so we have a little animation. And as you guys can see, adding animations, it's very complicated, but it doesn't have to, right? You know, it's just look at that. It looks quite cool. I really like this. Now, before we do this thing is a problem because it's adding a negative value, right? So what happened is that once you remove the display, the card display here, we are appending this value right there, right? So what do we like to do here? So if it's different from 0, I would like to basically call the ABS. So it creates an absolutely to integer. And then that should work. So if I go back and add a new card, so if I do that, that thing is fixed. Also, I'm going to do that same approach here. I'm going to go back to here. And instead of adding this value here, which is the counter, I'm going to do an ABS. So we always get an absolute value, and then we display the symbol that we want. And look at that, guys. That looks quite cool. I'm very impressed with this. Of course, we haven't had a chance to do the enemy UI, but this is going to be the next lesson. And now we have the counters done for us. The setup is everything working. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of like cool things that we can add here. And look at that counter. And now you've removed the item. And as you can see, everything is looking quite funny. Thank you very much for watching. And I understand this got very long, but I hope you guys enjoy it. And I see you in the next one.